orderly exchange, shaping policy, advancing development.
It is the day for International Day for Fight Against Illegal, Unreported and Unregulated Fishing. It was reported in 2022 that 40 to 60% of fishes caught in West African waters are illegal. And today, talking about this, we've got two people who are in the aquaculture sector to look at this. First, we have Wamba, who is Executive Director at Arzikin Noma. And we also have Akande Olalekan, who's a researcher, aquaculture and marine resources management. He will be joining us virtually as well this morning. Thank you both for joining us. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you.
Morning. It's a pleasure for having me.
Yes, it is here as well. Let's begin with Akande Olalekan this morning, talking about the fight against illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing. Like I said, in 2022, it was reported that between 40 to 60% of fishes caught in West African waters are done illegally. Why do we have such a high level of illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing in West Africa? Let's begin from there.
Thank you very much. This is $1 million question, but I will attempt as much as I could. There are so many factors responsible for this. Over the years, you could see that as a nation, we don't have like a domestic large-scale fishing company that are fishing on our coastal or water bodies. So most of the time we have foreign flag fishing vessels or trawlers that are coming to fish on our water bodies. Now, this is not a bad idea. It's not something strange. A foreign company can go to anywhere to fish as long as they acquire all the necessary license, they got all the documents they need to get from the government department that are overseeing such sectors. But what we have in most of the time is that maybe due to collaboration with some officials, with what is happening, you know what is happening, anything that has to do with the marine, the ocean, the water body, even our oil and gas, similar things happen there. You see some of these things occur without the license they're supposed to get, or sometimes, even when they have this license, they are not reporting the actual amount of catch they are supposed to report. Maybe this is how much we catch on this fishing expedition. Maybe they are able to catch 200 metric tons of fish, but instead of reporting that so that we can have accurate data, you know, this is business, they want to shortchange. They may report 150 metric tons. The other one are not reported. That is illegal. Another area of why they are illegal is that sometimes they may catch fish that they don't want to catch. Maybe their target is, for example, I'm just giving an example, is mackerel. And after trawling a lot, you know, it is not only mackerel that live in the water body. There are a whole lot of other animals. So, and some of these fishing gear, especially those who do bottom trawling, they catch as much as any other animal available within their net. But because their focus is mackerel, what they do is that they select mackerel. They don't want to carry unnecessary load that we have burden to their vessel and their resources in the vessel. Most of the time, these are discarded into the water body without being reported. And that's why they call it IUU, illegal, unreported, unregulated. These are not reported. Nobody has data of it. And some of these animals are already dead. So you have loss of biodiversity, loss of resources, wastage, losses on the and because of it, it's also illegal because we don't even know about it. And it's affecting the carrying capacity, the ecosystem of the water body. So a whole lot. Another way why it can be illegal is this, where there is proper fishery management, which most of the time is not even happening. There are what we call closed season, closed area, time you are not supposed to even go to that area to fish, or area you are not supposed to fish at a particular time of the year. Maybe that time the fishes are supposed to be breeding. You are not supposed to go there, but you go there to fish. It becomes illegal. So there are so many areas why this is rampant in our water body. But what really makes it so much is that maybe our legal framework, which sometimes are not really strengthened, the monitoring and surveillance system, which is not really being done well. We don't have some of the latest technology for surveillance, which are not really there to monitor the activities of these trawling vessels or fishermen. That's why the illegality is so high in our water body.
All right, I'm going to start with Joel for us to look at the economic loss attached to illegal fishing. And according to estimate done by the United Nations, it's about $11 billion globally. Now, what do you think is largely responsible for this? I also want you to talk about the fact that it's been unreported. I strongly feel this should be the role of the media, and that's why we're having this conversation, as our obligation is to shape policy. Now, what should be the starting point also for researchers who are to provide the data for these things to be reported? I'm going to start with you, Joel, then I'll get to Olalekan, who is a researcher, to answer that part of the question.
Femi, it's a pleasure being here again for fishery. So truly, we have a massive case of loss in fishery. In fish farming or fishing, actually, not fish farming, because they are two different things, right? Fishing is in the wild, right? In the coastal, in the oceans. If you go to civilized nations, like my co-panelist was speaking about, in civilized nations, people, they are licensed fishing, they live in fishing community, and they go under strict regulations from the government. So there's even based on the population of the people, there's actually a very standardized system of data that tells them the level of consumption, the rate of consumption of fish per a given period of time. Now, it's this information, they even show them they are actually at risk species in the water, where if you catch, sometimes you need to report so that the government knows that this still exists. However, you introduce them into specific water so that they can increase their population, just make sure that they are well propagated and that population grows again. At the same time, then there are specific species that seems to be excess. Then you have to limit them because they are beginning to consume other species. Now, this issue of loss has come in because it ranges between 6 to 26 million metric tons. This is a case where after catching the fishes, and you do all you do, but there's nobody to consume, right? Which means you literally took more than what the people can eat, and these things get spoiled. Sometimes you start depending, even during movement from one country to another country, you have cases of massive loss. Now, all of this is because we literally begin to harvest more than what we needed. And most times it's driven by business sense without accurate data and all of that. So this is a huge loss, which has. We need to come back and start dealing with it, because when you have some of these data, for instance, there was a season where there was a campaign of food nutrition, and it was a campaign of 1 fish per day. That obviously was coming because of the particular data where we saw that if you consume more carbohydrate, might not be able to at first direct for 1 egg per day. And then it looks like actually some kind of fish you could buy a bit cheaper than egg. So it became 1 fish per day. But in that drive made that there were domestic farming, right, that are coming. And you have small holders, different fish farms around, right? As that is going, then you must add that to the population. So knowing that, right now, let's say we produce an average of maybe 2 million fish domestically. And if the total consumption is supposed to be 3 million, then you only need to farm 1 million from the coastal rivers. But because we don't have that data, the people who will be catching keep catching whatever happens. Now, this has led to a massive loss. That is where this regulation and this awareness is coming into on this loss. And whether we like it or yes, uh, it's an ecosystem, like my co-panelist said. And one funny thing about the ecosystem is that we depend on one another. If you look down on, you know what is fish, they live in the water. Finish what you need to finish. You realize that what those fish were protecting you from, you will never be able to protect yourself from them. So that level of awareness, which is why the UN, United Nations, began to come up with stuff like this in 2015, and then it was enacted in 2016 to really combat and curb this a lot, bring in collaborations and all of that. And I think this literally, back to your other question on what researchers have to do, I think there are quite a number of data that we must have. And then put strong regulations, and then even the issue of traceability. For instance, I need to know where this fish is coming from. If I'm seeing a specific species of fish that is not, I mean, we used to know it in this continent and it's no longer there, and I'm finding it coming from West Africa. So, oh, it looks like you guys have enough. Then, by the reason of that data and collaboration, I trace it that way and find a way to move some of those species to my area and repropagate them again. Just like what you find around the panda, right? In China and Japan, they do a lot of that, and then they have like a zoo just trying to make sure that the panda reproduces itself a lot because they cannot go out of it, knowing what it protects the entire ecosystem from. I think this is my summary I will give on that. Thank you.
All right. Let me get to Olalekan. I like the fact that you're a researcher and you agree with me that the role of the media is also to report. When it comes to reporting, that should be the role of the media. But for the media to be able to do its work, we need the right data to work with. You are a researcher. What kind of framework should be created for us to have the right data as regards illegal fishing and then the economic impact on the environment? And then what should be the starting point towards having a proper reportage when it comes to the activities of illegal fishing globally?
Thank you very much. Every country establishes what we call research centers for different sectors. For example, in Nigeria, we have the Nigeria Institute for Oceanography and Marine Resource Research here in Lagos. We have for freshwater, National Institute for Freshwater Fishery Technology in Niger State with an outreach in Baga, Maduguri area. So, and several universities in Nigeria also have a Department of Aquaculture Fisheries where research is being done in this. The very starting point, I will start from there. What we need to do, because this is there already, it has been an issue over the years. And that's why in 2017, United Nations said, okay, we should start marking these days of fighting against it because it has been there. There are a whole lot of economic loss. In fact, what United Nations estimated on an annual basis is over 20 billion US dollar being lost. Now, each country has to strengthen the research base on these sectors. I remember as a student of aquaculture and fisheries, in 2000, we were in Lagos in this oceanography center, and we have been taken on the ocean with a vessel. There was a research vessel that time. I don't know if that is still working now. So we're taking on water body to see if you need to know the stock populations, what you need to do, okay, this is still available, this is depleting, this is become endangered, and how you can now write about it so that media can know about it and begin to educate people that this particular species, they are now endangered. The stock level has been depleted. But I don't know if that is there right now. This is what we need to strengthen. Researchers need resources to work with. I remember when I was doing my MSc in the Netherlands, I have this similar experience. We spent almost a month on North Sea with research vessels, taking different species of aquatic animal in the water body, mapping them. Okay, this is available. They compare data on an annual basis. What has happened last year? What are the depletion level? Have they increased? Have they depleted? Okay, they are not going to set a regulation. This particular species, no fisherman should, or fishing vessel or company should fish it. And because they have traceability system, just like Mr. Joel has said, as the fish is coming into the supermarket, there's a way they know that this is a particular fish. We have been told not to fish again. What is it doing in the supermarket? Which company brought it out? They are going to trace it back to the company, and that company can be fined, penalized, or their license withdrawn. So this is what we need to do. We need to strengthen the capacity of our researcher too, so that they be able to get accurate data. The data you need to report is maybe the stock level, the endangered species, the area that is closed, because in proper fishery management, that's what we call closed area. That's what we call closed season. When there's a closed season, this has to be reported. Awareness has to be made known to the stakeholders in that sector that this area has been closed for fishing, maybe for 3 months, for 2 months, for certain reasons. Because in overfishing, there are two types of overfishing. That's what we call recruitment overfishing. There are what we call growth overfishing. In recruitment overfishing, that is when the fishes are breeding. When you don't allow them to breed, you are doing recruitment overfishing. When you are harvesting fishes that are supposed to be breeding, parent stock that are maybe during their breeding season when they are supposed to breed, and you go there to harvest everything, then you are doing what we call recruitment overfishing, because you are not allowing young fishes to come into the system any longer, and you are depleting the stock. The other one is growth overfishing, when you are capturing younger, smaller fishes which have not grown to mature sizes. So that is why there's what we call closed season. Allow them to grow or allow them to breed. So if we have such data and it is published by people like myself and other researchers, the media can now hype it to the people, educate the people, create this awareness. Okay, this area has been closed, this season is closed, don't fish there, or some certain fishing gear, fishing net, some nets that most of the fishermen use. They are what we call mesh size. That's the holes in the net. They will tell you the mesh size should not be more than this or less than this, so that if it's it will allow smaller fishes when they come into the net to be able to escape and remain in the water body and grow, so that it's only certain size of fish that will be captured. And these are some of the data that I believe when we publish it, the media will have it and be able to educate people, create awareness about it, and people will know that, okay, this is what we are supposed to do, or this is what we are not supposed to do.
All right, I'm going to take this question first to Joel. Now, if something is illegal, chances are, of course, it will be unreported and then it's unregulated. Illegal fishing mostly occurs on the high sea. What makes it difficult to curb illegal fishing, especially as most of it occurs on the high sea? Nigeria loses a minimum of $70 million annually to illegal fishing. And it is also reported that in Nigerian waters alone, there are at least 450 vessels belonging to some countries that are actively doing illegal fishing. With this information and knowing where illegal fishing mostly occurs, what do you think is the reason why it's still not been curbed and Nigeria still loses much to illegal fishing?
Okay, thank you, Blessing. Unfortunately, this is the reality of where we are as a nation, and we have these vessels because we have the water bodies. If you go down south, everywhere is water. Right? Lagos itself, a whole state is an island covered by water, and we have other states like Bayelsa, Rivers, Delta. Now we have vessels coming from other countries, like Mr. Olalekan said. Our regulatory system, it's not just about the fishing regulatory system and the body and the research institute. I think it's a problem with the entire government. We have very sound laws, but implementation has been an issue. Corruption has been so deep that when you have these vessels coming, people who are supposed to implement these regulations and make sure that everybody is registered, and then you declare, make sure, I mean, before you go, there are things you must know and you must have this license, and before, when you're done catching, it must be checked. Do you understand? We do not have such system. Rather, the guys, and they don't, when they even come in, they don't pay those bills. Rather, someone from within the system sabotages the system. I say, oh, I know someone there. He comes and they say, don't worry, I'm with you. Just go. And rather than paying maybe a 1 million naira for that period they're coming to fish on our water bodies, this guy collects it 200,000. I say, what? Don't worry, go. I'll back to you. And then he comes in and share that just within him and some other persons. Now, these are the things that have actually increased this illegality on our water bodies, because individuals are trying to take advantage of the system. I think in a summary, I'll say implementation of our regulations, of our laws, across the board has been a strong, strong issue. And the nations around us also understand this. So they are beginning to take advantage of our lapses. If we don't start curbing this, because part of the gain, part of the losses is that we don't have these guys who are supposed to pay the prerequisite tax and all of that before they go enter the water body. So we're losing on all ends. On all ends, because individuals are sabotaging the system. But truly, this has to change. This has to change. And I'm glad for days like this, right? Where we have a global day to talk about it and shout it until everybody understands that, hey, beyond the money you are collecting, you don't even know one day the fish that is stopping the anaconda from coming into Africa, into your village, is what these guys are going to catch. The day they catch it, don't worry, you start seeing some very terrible animals in your village. Maybe when such kind of awareness comes, you'll not understand why some species must be there to balance the ecosystem. There's a minimum number, there's a minimum population of some species that must be in your water bodies, mostly in the big water bodies like the ocean. I think once we have that, then you realize that it's not just about the money you make, it's about survival, it's about sustainability, it's about the future. Beyond you, after your time, what happens to your children? And so I'm sure maybe when those awareness becomes very strong, we'll begin to implement some of those regulations that will help us. Blessing. Thank you.
All right, let me have Akande respond to this. Why is it still difficult to actually curb illegal fishing, even with vessels being seen from some countries, and it is known that these vessels are actively involved in illegal fishing?
Well, you don't want me to repeat what Mr. Joel has said. Vessels are not fly. They are not tiny objects. These are very huge objects that everybody can see. We have our naval patrol all over the water body. This is their work. So I'm not a naval official, but we all know what is going on in the system. It's just like when they said a vessel of oil tanker disappear and nobody can catch it. So it sometimes I begin to wonder what we are doing to ourselves, what we are doing to the coming generations. A whole lot of us doesn't know that what we are doing today, it will affect generations to come. We have the law. I've said it on this platform, the station before. We have policies. We have law. If you read most of our law, they are compared to any country, any of the big country in the world. But the lacuna is who will bail the cat? Who will implement the law? Who will stand, look at morality and legality and say, I stand for morality. Whatever consequences, I'm going to face it. If we begin to have individual, one of our former presidents said, change begin with me. This is what I think awareness creation, just like Mr. Joy said, I think we should be drumming it in the ear of the people of the consequences of the action they are taking today. That tomorrow, I remember as a kid, as a very little boy, the fishes that my grandmother then used to buy from the market, they're always very big fishes that when you cut, you see the flesh but today, For you to have such fishes in the market, it is difficult because they are no longer there. The wild environment and marine environment is highly depleted. And because of this issue like this, it's a lot of illegal activities. It's happening everywhere, so not only in Nigeria, but other clients, they have their traceability system, and that's why it's a bit reduced. But for us, we don't have anything like that. People just buy fish that come to the market. Nobody knows where it's coming from, which company brought it in, which company actually go to the sea to fish them. We don't know. And this is what we need to begin to educate people. Maybe in the near future, people begin to do what they are supposed to do regarding to implementation of policy, not just my self alone, what I need to gain today, forgetting about what the country at large will gain generally.
All right, let me direct my question to Joel. Now, in the African continent where people are battling with hunger and poverty, how do we help people to understand the impact of overfishing or illegal fishing and the impact, the danger that portends to the environment? So a hungry man, fishing is a source of survivor. And in the continent where that is prevalent, how do we achieve this for people to separate between what is acceptable, what is illegal, and what we call overfishing in the world globally? How does this become a challenge in Africa, and what should be done?
Thanks, Femi. This is a difficult one and really hard to call because one of the things we know Africa with today, unfortunately, is the level of poverty. When they shout poverty in the world, literally 60-70% of that is hitting on Africa and the part of Asia. Now, when you're hungry, like we said, there's a common adage: a hungry man is an angry man. When you're hungry, you only look for what, first of all, fulfills you, right? Master law of needs. Now, if I'm hungry and I live in one community in Bielsa or somewhere around the fishing community in Lagos, and I'm hungry, I just need to go and get a food of 1,000 naira. And the only thing I have my small boat and a net I literally can trust. Nobody is thinking about me. I have to survive, right? So I get in there and I do the best I can. Whatever I could get, I look for someone who's about to buy them, sell them at a giveaway price because I'm hungry just to go get food to eat. Let me survive first before I start talking of which species or what population to fish and all of that. Now, this is hinging very strongly on the level of unemployment or poverty level, right? Where people spend less than $1 or $2 per day. And if I can't take care of myself, I look for every avenue to take care of myself. Now, this is real. Just like we have the rural-urban migration in terms of people living before you realize that, for you to get very good job, you have to move from your rural community to urban community, or now we now have semi-urban. Now it's the same. There has to be an opportunity migration for people who live in such communities. It has to be a strategic approach because as long as these guys are hungry and are poor, they will keep fishing. I think some weeks back there was even it was trending everywhere where somebody caught a unique species of fish and in one of the villages around Bielsa, and they took videos and the community were dancing like this guy were a hero. But I wish they knew what that species was, what that thing was doing. Very rare. And I read some of the comments. I literally saw somebody commenting from Canada. I said, "Oh, Nigeria, I wish you know what you just did." The Western world are looking for species like this, But the guy is hungry. He has to eat, So this whole piece where we have a population of over 50% that are youth, and then 70 to 75% of that population live in the rural community, either where you have the arid lands or you have the water bodies. They must use what is available and do all that is available to feed. Now, as long as this continues to be there without an intervention, then we're in big shit. We're in big trouble. That there has to be a migration mindset of good job opportunities and what brings in income, so that we have some of this. What this does is that it gives us a very good system of accountability. Oh, okay, fine. These are the communities. These are the people. And when you have these regulations, even if you're coming to fish, right, there is a fishing company you have to be registered in, and then you know exactly what quantity and what kind you must fish in that period. The period where you don't get into those water bodies, right? And in the midst of that, in the season where they don't have to fish, what else will they do? There has
That's
to
the
be,
key.
there has to be, there has to be something to be done. In the season where you say don't go to fish, right? Now what will I do? Am I going to sit at home and die? Certainly not. I will not. In short, if it takes me to kill the guards who you have put there, I will kill him because I need to survive. If I don't go out, I'll die. If I stay in, if I go out, I will die. So let me try to go out, but then try to succeed. So there has to be that migration of, in the season where I don't fish, what else can I do? And that is what the migration, I mean, that's where that thought migration has to come in. It's a lot of work, and I'm glad that we have this like this where we can push that. And it's not just on the government at the high level, it also deals with even the local government, because the fishing community, there are more that are closer to these people. And just think about, put a lot of thought into, put a lot of things into thought. Oh, the season where you don't fish, can we have some kind of recreational system where people come on vacation? We don't fish anything, but they pay money. There's a lot to be done. I'm sure the researcher has a lot to say on this. Thank you, Femi.
Olalekan, you think it's something to look into to someone who is hungry? The message of overfishing might not resonate. As a researcher, what do we do? Solution to this?
A lot has been said anyway, because that's the reality. Somebody who is hungry, there's no amount of preaching you do, it will not go, except the stomach is filled. He has some energy, then you can be on the same table to talk. So I think every level of government need to be functioning. If you go to Tanzania today, Zanzibar has become a tourist hub based on their marine ecosystem. When you talk about blue economy in Africa today, Zanzibar will pop up as #1. I was opportunity to be there last year. I think that should be in August last year. So, because apart from the fish, just like Mr. Joe is trying to say, apart from the fish, which they fish, they try to manage the fishery. The tourism is another industry that we are not even looking at it at all. In fact, the coastal community in Nigeria supposed to be a tourism hub that will provide alternative employment to people, not just looking into the fishing alone. So there was a time I was involved in a project in the Niger Delta during that time when there was this amnesty issue, resettling of the ex-militants, and we are looking at livelihood diversification. Apart from fishing or the oil that those guys used to do in those days, what are other alternative livelihood that this guy can be involved in? So it's going to take a lot of orientation, a lot of education, that if you can manage today, the little resources available, let's manage it. During the off season, when there's no fishing, this is what you can do. I remember we introduced in the riverine community, we introduced fish farming in tarpaulin pond, small tarpaulin pond, which they can cater for. Maybe they cannot go into the river to fish because of this issue, habitat degradation and some other thing. You can look into fish farming, which can also take care of. So we need to look at livelihood diversification, but most importantly, a lot of orientation, that if we finish this thing today, tomorrow there will be nothing. And apart from there will be nothing, this hunger will continue. The environment, there are going to be issues on the environment. It's going to affect every one of us. So like Mr. Joe said, I think government at every level should be responsible. The local government system is the closest to the people. They should be very responsible. And apart from that, multinational company residing in different areas should also cater for like this alternative employment, livelihood that can be done when they are not going into the fishing. So these are some of the things that we can do, that this hungry man will see and be able to agree with us, okay, this is possible. I will not catch the fish at this time, just like you have said. And our enforcement agency, the implementer of this law, also has to wake up to their responsibility. Not that when somebody just offer you 5,000 naira, you close your eye to go allow them to do what they are not supposed to do. No, these are some of the issues that have been militating against, or that are making this thing or illegal, unregulated, unreported fishing to continue. But if we can apply some of these little advice and wisdom, I think we are going to make some headway.
All right. While we'll talk about illegal fishing, we still understand that fishing is a trade for many people. Lagos is one of the largest producers of fish in Nigeria, and research has it. We also have a researcher with us today. He can confirm that there are some species of fishes found in Lagos that are not found anywhere else in Nigeria. Other countries have been able to make lots of revenue from fishing. China is the largest producer of fish in the world, accounting for about 40% of fishes consumed globally. So how can it be converted from illegal fishing to legal fishing that supplies the domestic market? If you go to the market today, fish is almost not being affordable by the Nigerian masses because of how expensive it is. So how do we turn around the tide, converting from illegal fishing to legal fishing? And what should be the role of these big global fish companies towards tackling illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing? Akande, go first, please.
Thank you very much. This is a wish that I will love. Even myself, I wish it can happen immediately. But it is very difficult, I can tell you this. And that's why the entire United Nations is really fighting against this. You could recall in 2022, WTO signed a very huge agreement. That agreement, they have been on that agreement for almost 20 years. For you to see the importance and the difficulties around this high UU fishing. If you look at WTO fishery subsidy agreement, some of the terms clause there is that the developed country do not give subsidy to big fishing companies that are fishing in the developed country waters. Because they have all the capacity. They have everything, which there's no Nigeria company or vessel that have those capacity to go into the our water body to do the fishing. They have the capacity, and that's why the agreement is saying, don't give them that capacity. Give this fund. That's another time to say, give this fund to developing countries to be able to build their capacity of their fishing companies, of the regulatory framework, of their research institutes, of their surveillance and monitoring system. It is when we have some of these things in place, we'll be able to monitor these companies doing the fishing. You know why this unreported is actually there in the name of this issue we are discussing. Unreported in the sense that these fish are caught. The fishing company that caught them doesn't need them. They don't want them. And they don't want to record it in their own this thing. They don't want to carry, they don't want to prove that they've caught them. And they will discard them into the ocean, into the water body. So apart from they doing it, nobody else knows about it. It is insider, people that have worked from them, the people that are now, maybe, let me use our church language, people that have now repented. They begin to tell us that this is what they do. And that's why the world begin to know about it. So we should have surveillance and monitoring system on our water body, and that's why we need to keep, maybe if maybe they don't have it for our naval officers, we need to equip them with sophisticated equipment for surveillance, equipment that can see both for many nautical miles away and see the activity that they have done. The issue of traceability is here. If you begin to see this, and our law enforcement agencies stand by their word that they don't allow anybody, nobody take bribe, nobody take anything, then some of those companies fishing along the coastal water will be able to do what is right. If each person, like I said, this can be converted, unreported can be converted to reported. It's going to be money for the country. It's going to be money for the people. But like I said, it's a wish, which I also wish that I know something can be done if you and I begin to do what is right. And we have this fund to build our capacity. We have the legal framework working. We have the sophisticated surveillance equipment system for our officers on the waters. Then things will begin to change.
Just in one sentence, please, Joe, can you just share your last thought on this as we wrap up, because we're already way out of time?
Yeah, so I mean, I completely agree with Mr. Akande. I think we just need to allow the regulation come in, and then this becomes very structured, just like we have the example from China that he spoke about. Lagos, yes, provide a lot, but it's unregulated, and there's no strategy going on. There's no breeding period. So yeah, they keep catching, but they can do more if a little regulation comes in and you allow the professional players to wait a little, all right, and see the population increase. You get ×3 of this, and then we'll take advantage of the population we have in Africa and even the population in Nigeria, and we'll begin to compete, and this becomes a huge revenue for individuals and even the nation at large. I think that's definitely my last thought. Thank you.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. We've been talking with Joe Wamba, who is Executive Director at Arzikin Noma, and Akande Olalekan, who is a researcher, aquaculture and marine resources management. We thank you so much for your wonderful contributions on the subjects today.
Thank you for having us.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you for being on the show. We know fish is something almost everybody likes to eat, except you're a vegetarian, then you wouldn't like fish. So it shouldn't be a surprise that the show has extended today talking about fish. Let's do a bit. For you who is a local fisherman, do you know the guidelines to what you do? Do you fish at times you shouldn't fish? Are there fishes that are caught in your net that shouldn't be in your net? And as a government, even as we talk about growing marine economy in Nigeria, what are we doing to ensure that we not leave our waterways open for exploitation? We should convert illegal fishing to legal fishing so that at least the $70 million that is lost annually in Nigeria can become money that comes in and adds to the coffers of government for development. I am Blessed Eichie. Thank you for watching. The show returns tomorrow, 8 a.m. West African time. To enjoy your day and stay with Soup News always.
All right, this is where we wrap it up, but do remember that the conversation continues on our social media platform, and you can do a catch-up on our YouTube channel at Soup News TV. Don't forget, Early Exchange returns tomorrow. I am Femi Ayodele. Thanks for watching.
Early exchange, shaping policy, advancing development.